Good morning, Knysna. Yes, it's me, Mike. Nice to keep love Knysna, and I thought you might want to know what I'm having for breakfast, especially because it's August the 3rd. On the table today we have the Ubuntu Party, the Freedom Front Plus, they also call the Vryheidsfront, the AIC, the EFF, the ANC, the ACDP, COPE, COSA, DA and KUC, which is the Knysna Unity Congress. A little bit to the side there's some people that I'll talk to you about with regards Ward 10, which is where I stay. The empty plates, well, that's for something which we'll find out soon enough. I'll have to fill it up. And there is a Knysna Pet Herald, a newspaper that has chosen, I believe, the wrong damn side, i.e. they've chosen a side that is against the Knysna municipality, and that article is probably going to get them into trouble. So, what do we do? It's election day, and should I vote or should I not vote? And now that it's raining, a lot of you are thinking, well, that might just be the deciding factor. I will stay in bed, I'll forget about this nonsense, I will hold on to my lover's hand, and maybe I'll watch a movie. And maybe you'll be lucky enough and he or she will make you a cup of coffee. I can't tell you if you should vote. I can't find really good reasons because our municipality is in chaos. But if you are going to vote, then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to vote. Who knows? Maybe it influences some of you. Maybe it just answers the question that I get asked all the time. Because as an activist, I don't want to take sides. I want to be impartial. I want to be free to work with everybody. And I realize that corruption is not based on a party, but rather based on personalities. And you will find those in every single party once they get into power. There's the good guys and the bad guys. I'd be very interested to know who the staff of the Knysna municipality were going to vote for. That's because, they're there, they're in the midst. And I want you to know that the majority of people working in that municipality are normal people. They are good people. And they are caught in a war between different powers, which seems to really be between the majority and the leadership. So working for Knysna municipality is a lot like a council, and it's a lot like our lives, and it's a lot like the world all over. So when we're looking at the voting today, how do we choose? When you get to the ballot office, you're going to be given 3 things to do. And please take your ID with you. You want to make sure that it counts. Forget about the rain, just turn up, because that really might be the deciding factor, because the election is that close. There are more parties than ever before. There are 3 independents. It might actually come down to, after the rain, how many people vote for the independents, who I think are possibly there purely to distract from the major parties. Not because they don't they don't stand for something, but because if you vote for Irene Grootboom, for example, you are probably taking away a vote from the DA. She was a DA councillor. If you vote for Mark Taylor, that would be exactly the same story. Now, if you voted for Watla, and I can't get that click right, my stupid tongue, there in Ward 4 in White Location, you would probably be taking away a vote from the ANC. And it's an election, so it's perfectly okay, to do whatever you please. But in the bigger picture, it is going to come down to those 2 parties, and we have to hope, or at least I have to hope, that there are some people to deal with who are from other parties and actually make it onto council. Because those 1 or 2 proportional representative seats, which could be filled by ICOSA, or COPE, who already has one, or the KUC, or the Freedom Front Plus, or the... No. I don't know who the ARC is. I've never met them. So they're pretty bizarre, so I don't think that they are going to have one. But you get the picture. There's a possibility of one or two people getting onto the council who will not belong to one of the major parties, and they might make all the difference. Especially if they have the deciding vote, they can swing the municipality to either side. So, because so we have a change of scenery. Have a look at my breakfast again. We have 3 things for you to do when you vote today. In the grey box, they are going to ask you to vote for a ward candidate, i.e. the immediate area where you stay. I stay in Ward 10. You will hopefully know where you stay. Then you're going to be given an option of who to vote for in the Knysna Council. Alright, so that's our politicians, here, right here in Knysna. And that's going to be a yellow box. Okay? And then the green box is your choice for the district council. Alright, so remember apple, cucumber, and the green is for the district council, the yellow is for the local council, Knysna municipality, and the grey area will be for your ward. I have actually no idea who is competing in for the district, Eden District, which is the mega municipality that controls all the municipalities of Plettenberg Bay, Oudtshoorn, Mossel Bay, Knysna, etc., and Kannaland. But I'll find out. First of all, I'd like to start off by choosing somebody to represent us in council. For me personally, I'm going to say the KUC are new. They were quite friendly chaps, and so I'm going to keep them on the table. The Ubuntu Party. Oh my God, how the hell can you ever offer free electricity as an election promise? I mean, and it's going to be probably white people voting for the Ubuntu Party, because they're just looking for something to vote for other than their dissatisfaction with the DA at the moment, which has so utterly screwed up our town and failed to be honest with us. But there's a bigger picture there, and I will get to that. So the Ubuntu Party wants us to believe that there's free electricity. So to those white people who are voting for the Ubuntu Party, I would like you to think of another situation. Imagine if the ANC had put posters and banners up saying free food. You would have climbed all over them. So why the hell aren't you climbing over Ubuntu, who's offering free electricity and has refused to show a plan for the distribution and delivery of that electricity in Knysna, because I believe there is no plan. Alright, Ubuntu Party, leader Sue Ryan, shame on you for misleading us. I'm throwing you on the plate. Who else do we have? ECOSA. ECOSA have been around for a while in the Western Cape, but they're mostly a new party here in Knysna. I've met them a number of times. I like them. They do not have the finances to run a big political campaign, and they haven't answered all my questions, and they haven't even given me their manifesto, but they have turned up for quite a few meetings, and I am hoping that they will be one of the people who could possibly get a PR vote. So they are going to remain right here on the table. The EFF. Love him or hate him, alright, Julius Malema has caused a ruckus and he's stolen the media, and he's at least brought to the table the inefficiencies of President Jacob Zuma. But here in Knysna, I have no idea who the leadership of the EFF are. They haven't made themselves known. They were going to meet me at Wimpy, and they stood me up. So if you can't turn up for a simple meeting that is going to give you some free advertising, then why should you be voted for? So I am throwing you on the plate there with Ubuntu. The Vryheidsfront, the Freedom Front Plus. I suppose they're an interesting party. Some people will say that they're more like the conservative old South Africa, and they will probably have a point. But they seem to be trying to change their image. They're also running as the Freedom Front Plus. We see their names in English as well. They're trying to reach out to a broader base, and they have actually been fighting for Khoisan rights. So it's interesting that there's a conservative party out there that seems to be majority Afrikaans, but is no longer just white Afrikaans. It's becoming coloured Afrikaans too. They believe in self-determination, within the greater system. So we're allowed to have our culture, and you're allowed to have your culture, and allow us to decide some things for ourselves, and let us all fight crime together. That probably doesn't sum it up. Maybe I'm being too kind, but it's enough for me to keep them on the table. The Congress of the People, COPE, pretty much identified by one man in Knysna, which is Councillor Ulrich van Aswegen, or we call him Ricky. He has been around longer than any other politician in Knysna. So you could say that he's a chameleon because he knows how to change with the wind, or maybe you are one of his supporters who believes that he's tried to do the right thing the whole way along. Very difficult for me to figure out where Ricky stands overall, but he is one of the very few councillors that actually bothers to read the whole agenda. All right, and he talks a lot, and sometimes maybe too much in council, but he also makes more points than anybody else, and we need debate on the council, and so Cope and Ricky van Aswegen will remain here on the table. Can you tell my hesitancy? The DA, well, let me start with the positive. They have had a better building new house program than any small town in the Western Cape. In fact, overall in the Western Cape, they're second only to Cape Town. That is something to be said for them. The negative would be that, elections shouldn't be run on the promise of free houses. But they have been our rulers for the last 5 years. And they've also been involved in scandal for 5 years. And I am still hoping to get some of them in jail and to get some of them to pay the money back. But what is new to the whole scenario, mostly driven by Councillor Peter Myers, who is involved in all these scandals that you've seen in the Knysna Plate Herald, is a drive for some accountability in the municipality. Now, Peter has some things to answer for too. I mean, how come he is now doing due diligence and investigating a complaint from somebody who isn't me, whereas I have launched so many complaints and the council has refused to deal with any of them? So is there some bias? Are you damn right there's some bias? But with what he's doing right now and what the DA is doing right now, and I keep on saying Peter, because where the hell is the DA mayoral candidate Eleanor Bose-Spies? I mean, through all the scandals, she's actually been absent. So she gets to put pretty things on her Facebook and say, I'm your mayoral candidate, vote for me, I'm beautiful. But in a leader, you need some balls, all right? And no, I'm not being gender unfriendly. I mean it in the bigger sense. You need some bravery. We had the ANC actually walk out of council. They actually refused to participate in democracy just to stop the suspension of Grant Easton, the municipal manager. It was a very sad moment, and it was a moment that I hope to address with the ANC, but the ANC refused to turn up for the meeting. Either cowards or you have an agenda that you do not wish to be addressed. I should have been the gift to the ANC the last 5 years, because I might not belong to the party and I might not vote for them, but I have delivered more ammunition that they could have used to promote themselves than any other individual in this town. Whereas they were supposed to be the official opposition, me, just an activist, a blogger, was actually the opposition in this town. It's not ego. Everything that I've done speaks for itself. I gained all that attention. I pointed out where the DA had gone wrong. There's never been answers, and it must be asked why the ANC did not pursue that line of questioning themselves. The only answer I can come up with is that some ANC members were working with the DA against our whole town. It wasn't about parties, it was about people who were out to screw us. So we're back to the DA. Because of the latest moves, I am going to give them some credit. We do need investigation into the municipal manager, and it needs to extend far beyond that. The only way I believe that investigation is going to continue is if the DA is in the council and has more votes than the ANC. I'm still going to take the DA to court. I am still going to get them punished. But in light of the bigger picture and the light of the health of Knysna, I am going to keep them on the table. And since we mentioned the ANC, they've refused to meet. What they did by walking out of council was utterly despicable. And I am distressed by the fact that 2 of their councillors have received the degree studies for paid by the ratepayer and the taxpayer. How come nobody's ever looked into that? It's not legal, and it needs to be investigated to decide whether it was a bribe or not. Okay? Some DA people allowed that to continue, and those DA people are actually being kicked out at the moment. But I am kicking the ANC out. Turn up for a meeting. Be accountable. This is a democracy. You are not above everybody else. You get to join the EFF and the Ubuntu on the plate. ARC, you might be lovely people, but I just don't know anything about you. So, on the plate you go. The ACDP. Ideologically, I disagree with them. I believe it's a woman's right to choose. You don't get to say, well, you know, all babies are babies from the moment of inception. I mean, I'm just using one example. But in politics, we have to look at the bigger picture. We can't look ever at one thing. The ACDP has been doing a good job in Cape Town. They are trying to keep people accountable. They're even trying to keep the DA accountable. But when it comes to Knysna, they have utterly failed us. And when I say they failed us, I'm thinking particularly of Skalk van der Merwe. He's the candidate for Ward 10, and I believe that he has embarrassed them. Allowing a comment to stand on his page that said that pigs should be buried on the property where the mosque hopes to go so that it could be defiled and stop it was despicable. Alright? Getting involved again in this scandal and taking a side and then publishing an anonymous letter purporting to be from a municipal person agreeing with everything that Skalk says against the DA and Peter Myers, that strangely and suspiciously ended with it saying that you should give your support to the ACDP, was just a little bit over the top for me, way over the top for me. It was incredible, and Skalk van der Merwe has refused to substantiate any of his major claims with regards to scandals of Knysna. So it's cheap politics, and it's politics that damages Knysna. It is not honourable, and it does not fit with the C in ACDP, which stands for Christian. I might not be a Christian, but I'm definitely a better Christian at the moment than the Knysna ACDP. So on the pile they go with all the other losers on the breakfast table. So how do we go from here? How do we choose who to vote for? Well, you start figuring out what people actually stand for, and you don't vote according to your bias. You don't vote according to the color of their flag and who your parents voted for and all those odd things. You start saying, what is beyond my comprehension and what won't I vote for? All right. You could say, I'm not going to vote for the DA because I'm white and the DA supports BEE. All right. So I'm not going to have a fair chance at a job. There's an example. Don't vote for the DA because they're limiting your employment options, which has become an absolutely vital thing in our country. You could say, I refuse to vote for the ANC because they refuse to distance themselves from President Jacob Zuma, who seems to be utterly corrupt. I mean, isn't it a massive mistake to come into a DA-ruled town and put up election posters featuring Jacob Zuma? I mean, that was just bizarre. And the marketing team needs some better options. They should have gone with pictures of local candidates instead. So once you've decided who you don't want, you can get rid of them. Alright, you don't have to be as dramatic as me, but you do need to say what you don't believe. Alright, at the same time as you're saying what you do believe, to actually figure out where you stand. Because most people I know, actually pretty much everybody, alright, which somehow seems more than most when I say it that way, doesn't vote for what a party believes in. They vote according to their colour. And isn't that just ghastly? You need to start anew, you need to change the way you think, and you need to stop being a responsible South African. So here I am. I'm left with the KUC, the Freedom Front Plus, ICOSA, COPE, and DA. So I would like to maintain some impartiality. Can't believe that I'm actually keeping the D on the table after what they've done to me the last 5 years. I mean, associating me with absolutely ghastly things in their propaganda campaign. But for the health of Knysna, I will suck it in and I'll put it there and leave them as one of our choices. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is throw these on the table and I'm going to choose one. Oh my God, after everything I said now, I was still hoping that it wasn't going to be them, but the DA is now going to get my vote for the council. That's the yellow box. Damn! But so be it. That's democracy on the breakfast table. The reason why I can't include some people like COPE and the Knysna Unity Congress as a choice for my ward is because they simply are not, they don't have Ward 10 candidates running. So I'm going to have to chuck them away, not because I want to, but just because they're not an option. So personally, I think it comes down to 3 people in Ward 10. Jackie du Toit, Freedom Front Plus, wanting to fight crime more tough and to get CCTV cameras in and to make Knysna a little bit safer. She doesn't have experience, but at least her heart's in the right place. So there's the Freedom Front Plus, Vryheidsfront, Jackie du Toit. Some of you will know her as Jackie Vasik. Depends on whether she's under a maiden name or not. DA Peter Myers, my God. You know, he really is a bull in a china shop, and the changes in the Knysna municipality, a lot of them are because of him. He has to be given credit for that. But I mean, this is the man who said that because I was raising money for a teenager in need, it must be considered abuse of a child. I mean, that's low, alright? So I could never vote for Peter. So Peter, is still an option to people out there, and you should keep him as an option, but I personally cannot live with that as my personal choice. Jackie, you seem like a lovely person, and I hope people consider you to be one of their options, but I'm going to put you over there on the plate. I won't put you on top of Peter Myers. I'll put you a little bit further away so that you know that I do not associate you with him. And I am going to make one personal choice. So we're going to have three options. One is to vote for the district, one is to vote for a council member in Knysna, and the other one is to vote for the ward. The only personal choice I'm going to make for a ward is for Bernard Yankees. And many people have met him, and you call him BJ. I would like you to note that I am not voting for him as a member of ICOSA. I am voting for him simply because of who he is. It's very hard to find good people. BJ was the first person I met in Knysna. I only came to Knysna for 3 days. I got there, got off the bus at the waterfront, and I didn't know where to go. I had passed through Knysna before, but I didn't know the town. I had very little money, was in my own personal crisis, and I went away for 3 days to think and impulsively chose Knysna. 17 hours on a bus ride later, and how I was. And by hook or by crook, I was like, this is going to be the town I'm going to live in, and I'm going to start a new life. You know, that was 7 years ago. And the first person I met was Bernard, and he was there in his taxi. He said, can I give you a ride anywhere? And I said, no thanks. I don't have much money. I would like to, enjoy the next couple of days as much as possible, but do it as cheaply as possible. And BJ said, don't worry. He said, I'll give you a lift anywhere you like for free. I mean, how's a taxi driver telling a stranger that he will help him? And that is the BJ I've come to know. He's been consistent over all these years, and he is still my favorite taxi of choice. And over the years I've discovered that he is far more than a taxi driver. He's a business owner, and he does as much as he can for his community, which is there in Hornley. So I'm going to give BJ my award vote. I am going to really hate myself and give, but wait, there's some namakwa left over from a braai last night. There's maybe there's at least half a glass inside. I am going to celebrate this public holiday, August the 3rd, voting day. I am going to skip the pawpaw, the apple and the cucumber. Well, it's almost a whole glass. And the very strangely coloured sweet potato and the coffee and the healthy water. And I am going to force myself to give the DA my council vote. Thank you. Happy voting day, Knysna.